Okay,
Okay,
so
okay.
welcome to the CLAIMED meeting. We have a presentation from Sven today, as I'm informed. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I just will hand over to you, Sven.
Okay. I'm sharing my screen. Wait, whole desktop. Entire screen is fine. Okay, here we go. Yeah, essentially, I've been following Elyra for quite some time, back when it was still at IBM. And since it moved over to Red Hat, focus has been, at least on the Open Data Hub side, on Kubeflow pipelines. And my thinking was, well, the idea behind a graphical pipeline editor to being able to define steps, inputs, outputs, all that stuff, right? Different container runtimes is very useful, and in fact, for a lot of data warehouse types of people and data scientists, appealing when they don't have to write pipeline code themselves, right? Even though you can do that, I mean, be it Kubeflow pipelines or Airflow processor. But my thinking was, okay, let's have a look at that. And then there was a big hint, only supports Airflow 1, right? We're not as far advanced to support Airflow 2. So it was last year or in spring, I was waiting for more developments on that. But there wasn't really any, and so I decided to connect with some people on GitHub, and people actually chimed in from different institutions. I don't know, U.S. Navy, some national lab in the U.S., somebody from some research facility or university in Israel, and they all said, "Hey, this would be great, if we had this, So I then took input from all of these people and made that pull request, which hasn't been changed in a while now, with the idea of generating Airflow DUG pipeline code, so that it can be picked up by Airflow 2.x, right? I mean, I'm working with Airflow 2.6.2 currently. That's the community Airflow Helm distribution, so no Bitnami stuff or anything like that, and no commercial astronomer. And we've got that running on OpenShift, with some help from the community. And now the next step would be, okay, so how do I get the templates and the code generator, here it's called processor, exactly. How do I get that output basically in an Airflow 2.0, 2.x compatible format, right? That's what I'm trying to do with this pull request. I had some conversations with somebody from that startup in Israel, who mentioned, he's got requirements that limits have to be set at a cluster level. And I said, yeah, that'd be a good idea to have limits for CPUs and so on, right, and for memory. But I came to the conclusion that for now, in order to even test out, the functionality of Airflow 2.x compatible code generation for generic pipelines, to just leave that on the sidelines, that whole issue of limits, and just integrate it into Jupyter with Open Data Hub notebooks, compatible notebooks, let it run and see what it does with our environment, right? I just made that comment here, I want to test this out with Airflow 2.6.2, which I guess means I need to have Python packages for testing and being able to integrate this in a different, Docker container. Obviously, that's no public release, right? That'd be a dev type of testing. And my issue is I've got no idea how to integrate local files, locally generated files, into into Python or the whole pip ecosystem. That'd be the next step. Because I'm fairly sure of my changes I made in this, in this format here. But I kind of would like to test it out on our OpenShift cluster with our Airflow instance, and that's where I'm kind of definitely, comments on the code itself are welcome, right? Because it could be that I missed something. But how I usually work is once I've got something, let's say 80% finished, I like to test it out, right? And that's why I'm kind of stuck right now, because I've got no idea how to build, I don't know, a wheel file, and then integrate that into a custom container so that I can make it run on Open Data Hub. That's my current situation.
So Sven,
Mhm.
when you clone the repo, we have the make file that
Okay.
does that should do all of that for you. So if you go to your branch and you do a build, you're gonna get a wheel file. Also, if you call like make I think Docker or you can try specific ones, it will build just those images, and you can then use those images to connect to like an OpenShift server.
Yeah.
The other approach I used to do is if you install like just the Jupyter Enterprise Gateway on the OpenShift side, you can then run a local build, like a Jupyter, like you build your Elyra, then you run Jupyter Lab, and you can do gateway URL to the URL of the gateway on the OpenShift.
Okay.
But also, if it's just for you to access KFP, or sorry, Airflow.
Or Airflow, yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to just run it locally
True, yeah.
and point into the runtime configuration. How do you access the remote Airflow?
True, yeah.
And I think because the Airflow is mostly associated with a Git repo, it should be very straightforward.
Yeah.
I think my issue on trying this, I would have to set up the whole Airflow and all the 9 yards, which I don't have at the moment.
Yeah.
But
I mean, my main thing is why I want to integrate this into a container build and quickly push it up to our enterprise corporate repository, Docker repository, is because I'm very familiar now with the whole build process, and I've got Open Data Hub and Airflow running, including a GitLab repo. So for a newbie, how do I integrate a wheel file into a Python, how do you load wheel files via pip install? It might sound stupid, because I don't have enough background knowledge.
So when you put a dependency on a pip file or on a requirement.txt, basically what you're saying is go to this public pip repository,
Right, yeah.
and download either this wheel or this source and install. If you already have the wheel, you can just copy the wheel to, I don't know, /tmp, and then on your Docker file, just say pip install /tmp
Okay.
something.
See, that I wasn't so sure about, right? Because as I said, I haven't really worked with locally produced binaries there. Okay, all right.
Yeah, this should be very straightforward for you to
Okay.
use.
Because for me, that's the easiest way to go about this. in the sense that, okay, I've got my wheel file, produced with a build process, make build, and that way I can integrate it and test it out very easily with my environment that I have currently. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just trying to remember. I think you might need oh no, the wheel should install. Yeah, no worries. I was gonna say that.
Because it's local. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say the template needed to be available, but I think we copied the template to the wheel, and then the wheel when you pip install, put into the right place. So yeah, you should be good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, Harshad had something different. Like a pip index URL for custom locations, non-public. But that's a different issue. That's not that doesn't have anything to do with locally compiled wheel files. Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
let me ask you a different question. So other than testing, you think you're ready with this in terms of the updates required to run? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the code changes, especially different imports and stuff like that, and different usages of certain functions, that should all be good. Yes. Yeah, I mean, essentially, somebody, the guy I was talking to, he didn't formally fork Elyra. He just made kind of an offline copy, and Gilad or something, and then he made this run with his Airflow. I think back then it was 2.5 point something instance, and it worked for him. The only thing is he also added some, hard-coded limit values for the container runtime. But that's optional. That's not a must-have. And the other guy, this one here, he gave me input from a different conversation. I think that was actually a fork. This one here, this one is actually a fork of Elyra, and I guess in that fork they basically did what I'm doing in this pull request, right? And the only thing that same thing, right? Template processor, and as mentioned, some additional input also from the Israeli guy. So I'm just formalizing input from these two people, and I kind of did some background research, right, and looked at the documentation on what changed in Airflow, read up on it. It should be fine. I mean, the only thing, of course, there's definitely no more backward compatibility, right? I mean, it's going to be Airflow 2.x code, right, that's generated. But I think that's fine. I mean, at a certain point, I think, Luciano, I think you had the comment that you wanted to stay backward compatible with 1.x.
So,
yeah.
What we had discussed on the community before, in that time, we were just getting 2x launched, like Airflow 2x. So we were saying, let's create a second runtime, one for Airflow 1 and one for Airflow 2. I think at the current situation, particularly if we're gonna say it's gonna be Elyra 4.0, I think it's okay, probably, particularly because when I look at the changes, they are very minimal. Maybe in the worst case, we have I mean, most of your changes is on the template. So maybe we have a template for 1 and a template for 2, and we use the same Airflow. But other than that, if these are working, I think we can start merging to a main, because main is most likely going to be the 4.0 with some backward incompatible changes anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we can say if you're still using 1.x, use Elyra 3.x. If you're using 2.x, then use Elyra 4.x for the build.
Okay, that sounds like a good approach.
Yeah, so most likely that's what we're gonna do. Let's wait for the tests to come out and see.
Yeah. As mentioned, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build locally, include the wheel file in a custom notebook image for Open Data Hub.
Okay.
And also enable in general the Airflow generic pipeline editor again. I think that's not enabled currently, but that's a minor thing. And then I've got that tile available. Can make some, just a simple runtime test with different steps and tasks, and then see if it gets picked up correctly by our Airflow that is monitoring our GitLab repo.
Perfect. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah. Mainly, as I mentioned, not much experience with local builds and Python.
No, it's
the
good.
background info on the wheel file, that you can with pip install the wheel file, indeed, right? And that I don't have to set up let's say, a custom artifactory, right, to push up a package to there and then download it with from a different URL. That's good to know, that that's possible. Makes it easy for me. I mean, I definitely know what I have to do now. It's probably going to take 2 weeks or so, but I'm going to give feedback on a simple pipeline, what the dark code looked like, and if I run across any issues, with Airflow 2.6.2. And from that, I think we can keep going forward.
Yeah. So feel free to ping us on the Elyra Slack if you have this kind of questions. Don't try to kind of like don't get blocked or something. We do this kind of like pretty much every time to test. So just reach out to us. We can help you.
Okay, great. Yeah. All right. Yeah, because I think even Elyra in itself, of course, right? But in general, I mean, it makes sense for Open Data Hub, even though their focus is on Kubeflow pipelines or Kubeflow pipelines, KFP. There are lots of users that work with Airflow, and Airflow is not just about data science pipelines. I mean, we've got that in use for much more in terms of data warehouse processes and any workflow for that matter. So it's just a good idea for, I think, for at least optionally having a working Airflow 2.x functionality, so that later on, once I've got that confirmed, Red Hat can say, okay, we're putting it on our blog. How, if people want to, they can enable, Airflow generic pipeline functionality again. And that way it's cool. I mean, there are additional issues with non-generic pipelines. I think those were like Airflow components, binary operator, pre-compiled operator components, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but that's a different issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to be adjusted to the 2.x format and also recompiled and stuff like that. So yeah, I agree.
But I thought I'm starting with this because it's the simplest case, and once I've shown that is working, then we can keep moving on with the Airflow specific operator components, those types of integrations.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just plain Python Jupyter code execution, basically. The generic one. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll give feedback on Slack. How I'm moving along and what the test result was. And if I hit any snags, I'll let you know on Slack. Yeah, should be fairly straightforward. I mean, as I said, other people, the person from the East Coast and that one Israeli guy, they've they've given great input, and that was essentially what was necessary to make the required changes. Especially with that one guy already having a working fork, right? So I think we can make this an official part again, Airflow 2.x compatibility. But I'll make sure I test it correctly.
And I think just to let you know, if you ask anything next week, everybody's gonna probably be very slow. It's Thanksgiving week in the US, so a lot of people will be out, including myself. So also most likely I'm not gonna make next week meeting. So just I don't know if Romeo is still listening, but just maybe we wanna cancel next week one.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be immediate. And also regarding any Python related questions or notebook related questions, I can always ask Harshad Nala from Red Hat.
Okay.
Also, I've got a good contact with him in terms of Open Data Hub people, or even Guillaume Moutier. He's a big image build and Python and dependency hell expert at Red Hat from Quebec. Yeah,
okay.
Should be fairly seamless. My main thing is, hey, what about locally built packages, right? What do I do with those? So okay, it's good. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
all from me.
Okay, perfect. Do you guys have like some other topics? I don't know if you had some other things to discuss.
No, I think what I wanted just to say. Sorry, go ahead, Romeo.
It's fine. Anyway, at school at the moment, so.
Cool. On my side, I know there are a couple of PRs there. I'm gonna try to take a look at over the holidays next week and comment or merge the ones that are ready. So just FYI, it's this week as we're all trying to close things to go on the holiday. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember Turkey from my time in the US. I got extremely sleepy after those after those feasts. What's it called? Tryptophan or something. Yeah.
Good. Okay, guys. Thanks all for coming. I think we're getting close to the hour as well. So have a great holidays and see you guys after next week. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.